The morning air bit through her thin jacket as 15-year-old Maya set up her small easel on the corner of 5th and Pine. Her fingers were already numb, but she ignored the cold. She had learned to ignore a lot of things lately. Around her, the city was waking up. People rushed past with their coffee cups and briefcases, their eyes fixed on their phones or the path ahead. Nobody looked down. Nobody ever looked down at the girl sitting on the concrete with paint-stained hands and a collection of canvases propped against the lamppost. Maya didn't mind. Well, that wasn't exactly true. She minded, but she understood. These people had their own problems, their own lives racing forward. They didn't have time to stop for a teenage girl trying to sell paintings on a street corner. She pulled out her current work from her worn backpack. It was a landscape of the mountains she'd seen once 3 years ago, when her family had taken a trip before everything fell apart. Before her dad left. Before her little brother got sick. Before her mom started working 2 jobs and still couldn't make the numbers add up. The painting showed those mountains at sunset, with colors that seemed to glow even in the gray morning light. Purple and orange and gold, all bleeding into each other the way the sky really looked that day. Maya had a good memory for colors. It was one of the few things that came easy to her. She set up 3 more paintings beside it. A cityscape of downtown at night. A portrait of an old woman feeding pigeons in the park. An abstract piece full of blues and greens that made her think of water, of freedom, of all the places she'd never been. By 9 o'clock, she'd been sitting there for 2 hours. Her legs were cramping, and she'd made $7 from a tourist who bought a small sketch. $7. She needed at least $50 today. Liam's medication cost $200 a week, and this week they were short. Again, her little brother was 10 years old, and he had something wrong with his blood. Maya didn't fully understand the medical terms the doctors used. Something about his immune system attacking itself. What she did understand was the number on the prescription bottle, and the way her mom's face looked when she checked their bank account. So Maya painted. And she skipped school. And she pretended everything was fine. A businessman walked past, then doubled back. Maya felt a spark of hope. He looked at her paintings for maybe 3 seconds before shaking his head and moving on. The hope died as quickly as it came. This was her life now. 6 months of sitting on this corner, watching thousands of shoes walk past her dreams. She'd sold maybe 30 paintings total. Some days were good. Most days were like today. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mom. "Where are you?" School called. Maya's stomach dropped. She typed back quickly. Felt sick. Came home early. Taking a nap. The lies came easier now. That scared her sometimes late at night when she couldn't sleep. How good she'd gotten at lying. How normal it felt. But what choice did she have? Her mom was already stretched so thin, working at a diner from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, then cleaning offices from 4 until midnight. She came home exhausted, smelling like bleach and French fries, and still tried to smile when she checked on Liam. Maya couldn't add to that weight. She just couldn't. A young couple stopped to look at her paintings. The woman pointed at the mountain landscape, and Maya felt that hope again. Dangerous and bright. "How much?" the woman asked. $30, Maya said, her voice steadier than she felt. The woman's boyfriend pulled her away. "Come on, babe. We can get prints at Target for like $10. They left. Maya swallowed hard and stared at her hands. Paint under her fingernails, blue and yellow and red. She'd been painting since she was 7, when her dad gave her a cheap watercolor set for her birthday. Back when he still remembered birthdays, art was supposed to be her escape. Her teacher in middle school had told her she had real talent, that she should consider art school someday. That felt like a joke now. Art school. She'd be lucky if she graduated high school at this rate. The wind picked up, scattering dried leaves across the sidewalk. Maya pulled her jacket tighter and wished she'd brought the thicker one. But Liam had been cold this morning, so she'd given it to him. He needed it more. She picked up her brush and started working on a new piece right there on the street. A small canvas, 6 inches by 6 inches. She didn't have a plan, just let the brush move. Blue for sadness, yellow for hope, red for the anger she kept buried deep down. An old man dropped $1 in her cup without looking at the paintings. Pity money. Maya took it anyway. $8 now. By noon, she'd made $12 and her back was aching from sitting on the hard ground. She ate a granola bar from her backpack and rationed her water bottle. She had to make it last until dark. A group of teenagers walked past, laughing about something on their phones. They were her age, probably from one of the private schools downtown. Clean clothes, new sneakers, backpacks that weren't held together with duct tape. One of them glanced at Maya and quickly looked away, like poverty might be contagious. Maya watched them go and felt something hard settle in her chest. She wasn't jealous exactly, just tired, so incredibly tired of fighting for every single thing. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Liam. "Mom's working late." "I'm hungry," she texted back. "There's soup in the cabinet."
Can you heat it up?
"I'm tired. I know, buddy. Just try, okay? I'll be home soon." But she wouldn't be home soon. She had at least 5 more hours on this corner if she wanted to make her $50 goal, and she had to make it. There was no other option. The afternoon dragged on. A few more people stopped. Most just looked. One woman lectured her about truancy and told her she should be in school. Maya nodded politely and said nothing. As the autumn sun started sinking lower in the sky, Maya counted her money again. $23. Not even halfway to her goal, and her fingers were so cold she could barely hold her brush. She packed up one of her finished paintings and put out a fresh one. The light was changing, painting the buildings around her in shades of gold and amber. It was beautiful, the kind of light that made her fingers itch to capture it on canvas. But beauty didn't pay for medicine. Beauty didn't keep the lights on or food in the refrigerator. Maya picked up her brush and kept painting because that's what she did. That's all she could do. One stroke at a time, $1 at a time, trying to paint her way out of a situation that felt impossible. The street corner was cold and hard beneath her, but she stayed. She always stayed. For Liam, for her mom, for the small, stubborn hope that somehow, someway tomorrow might be different. The black car appeared out of nowhere, sliding to a stop right in front of Maya's corner. It was the kind of car she only saw in movies. Sleek and shiny, probably worth more than everything her family owned combined. Maya looked up from her painting, squinting against the late afternoon sun. The driver's door opened and a woman stepped out. She was older, maybe in her 60s, with silver hair pulled back in an elegant twist. Her clothes screamed money, but in a quiet way. Nothing flashy, just expensive. The woman stood there for a moment, looking around like she was lost. Her eyes landed on Maya's paintings and something changed in her expression. Maya had seen a lot of looks over the past 6 months. Pity, discomfort, dismissal, sometimes disgust. But this woman's face showed something different. Interest. Real, genuine interest. The woman walked closer, her heels clicking on the sidewalk. She stopped in front of the mountain landscape and just stared at it. Not a quick glance like most people.
She actually looked. Did you paint this?
The woman asked. Maya nodded, suddenly aware of how she must look. Paint all over her hands and clothes, hair that she hadn't washed in 2 days, sitting on cardboard because the concrete was too cold. "Yes, ma'am," she managed to say. The woman crouched down, not caring that her expensive pants might touch the dirty sidewalk. She studied each painting carefully, moving from one to the next. Maya's heart started beating faster. This felt different from the usual browsers. "How old are you?" the woman asked. 15, the woman's eyebrows went up.
And you're out here selling paintings instead of being in school?
Maya's defenses went up immediately. "I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just trying to make some money." "I didn't say you were doing anything wrong." The woman's voice was gentle. "I'm just asking." There was something in her tone that made Maya's walls crack just a little bit. Maybe it was because she'd had such a long, frustrating day. Maybe it was because she was tired of carrying everything alone. Or maybe it was because this woman looked at her paintings like they actually mattered. "My brother's sick," Maya heard herself say. "The medicine is expensive." The woman nodded slowly. She didn't launch into questions or advice like most adults did. She just accepted the information and kept looking at the paintings. "These are remarkable," she finally said. "The way you use color, the emotion in each piece." "Where did you study?" Maya almost laughed. "I didn't, I just paint." "Just paint," the woman repeated like Maya had said something profound. "That's actually quite rare. Most artists I know have been so trained that they've forgotten how to just paint." "You know artists? I used to run an art gallery. Spent 40 years in the business before I retired." The woman stood up and pulled out her phone. "May I take pictures of your work?" "Sure, I guess." The woman photographed each painting carefully, from different angles. Maya watched, confused but hopeful. Maybe this was finally it. Maybe this woman would buy something. How much for the mountain landscape? The woman asked. $30. And the cityscape? Same, 30. What about this abstract one? The blue and green? 25. It's smaller. The woman pulled out her wallet. Maya tried not to stare at how thick it was. I'll take all three. But $30 doesn't feel right for work of this quality. She counted out bills and handed them to Maya. $200. For 3 paintings. Maya's hands shook as she took the money. This is too much. No, it's not enough. But it's what I have in cash right now. The woman carefully picked up the 3 paintings. What's your name, sweetheart? Maya. Maya. I'm Mrs. Richardson. Eleanor Richardson. She paused like she was deciding something. Can I ask you something? And I want you to be honest with me. Maya nodded, still clutching the money like it might disappear. How bad is it? Your situation at home? The question hit Maya harder than she expected. Nobody ever asked directly. People pretended not to see, or they saw but didn't want to know the details. My mom works 2 jobs, Maya said quietly. My little brother has something wrong with his immune system. The medicine costs about $800 a month, and insurance only covers some of it. We're always short, always behind on something, and you're out here trying to make up the difference. Somebody has to. Mrs. Richardson's expression softened even more. You shouldn't have to carry that weight, Maya. You're 15 years old. Yeah, well, Maya shrugged. Life doesn't really care what age you are. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The city noise filled the silence. Cars honking, people talking, the usual chaos that Maya had learned to tune out. What would you do? Mrs. Richardson asked slowly. If you didn't have to worry about money. If you could do anything with your art. The question felt like a trap, but Maya answered anyway. I'd go to art school. Learn to be better. Maybe work in a gallery or teach other kids who love painting. You want to teach? I don't know. Maybe. I just know that painting is the only thing that makes sense to me. Everything else feels hard and confusing, but when I'm painting, it's like I can breathe. Mrs. Richardson smiled. I know exactly what you mean. She adjusted the paintings in her arms. I have a proposition for you, Maya. But I don't want to rush you, and I don't want you to feel pressured. Maya's stomach tightened with hope and fear mixed together. Okay, I'm starting a program. A scholarship for young artists from difficult backgrounds. It provides art supplies, mentorship, and a monthly stipend to help with expenses. There are only 5 spots, and the program starts next month. It sounded too good to be true. Things that sounded too good to be true usually were. What's the catch? Maya asked. The catch is that you have to go back to school full-time and maintain at least a B average. No skipping. No dropping out. And you have to work hard at your art, not just treat it as a paycheck. Maya's mind raced. Go back to school meant less time to paint and sell. Less money coming in, but a monthly stipend could maybe, possibly cover what she made out here. And art supplies. She was always running out. Always buying the cheapest materials she could find. How much is the stipend? She asked. $300 a month. Maya did the math quickly. That was more than she usually made on the street, and it was guaranteed. But what if it wasn't enough? What if Liam needed more medicine? What if something else went wrong? I need to think about it, Maya said. Of course. Mrs. Richardson reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. This has my phone number and email. The program information session is on Saturday at 2 o'clock. The address is on the back. Maya took the card. It was thick, expensive paper. Embossed letters that read, Eleanor Richardson, art curator and philanthropist. Can I ask you something? Maya said, anything. Why are you doing this? Why me? Mrs. Richardson looked at the paintings in her arms, then back at Maya. Because 50 years ago, I was a girl sitting on a street corner trying to sell sketches to buy food. And someone gave me a chance. I've been waiting my whole life to pay that forward. She started walking toward her car, then stopped and turned back. And Maya? Real talent is rare. But talent combined with determination and heart? That's extraordinary. Don't waste it out here when you could be somewhere that nurtures it. Maya watched the black car drive away, the business card gripped tight in her paint-stained hand. $200 in cash and a possibility that felt too big to even imagine. She looked at her remaining paintings. At the empty spot where the 3 sold ones had been, at the busy street that had been her second home for months. Maybe, just maybe, things were about to change. Her phone buzzed. Liam again. Maya, I really don't feel good. And just like that, reality crashed back in. She packed up her things quickly. her mind spinning with questions and what-ifs and the terrifying hope that Mrs. Richardson might actually be real. Maya stood outside the gallery for 10 minutes before she could make herself go in. The building was all glass and white walls, the kind of place that made her feel dirty just looking at it. Through the windows she could see paintings hung on walls so clean they practically glowed. This was a mistake. She should leave. But the business card was in her pocket, and Mrs. Richardson had called twice that week to remind her about the information session. And Maya couldn't stop thinking about that $300 a month. Guaranteed money. No more cold street corners hoping someone would stop. She pushed open the door. A small bell chimed, making her jump. The inside was even more intimidating than the outside. Everything was white or chrome or glass. Her sneakers squeaked on the polished floor. A few other people were already there, sitting in chairs arranged in a semicircle. They all looked up when she entered. Maya almost turned around and ran. "Maya!" Mrs. Richardson appeared from a side door, smiling warmly. "I'm so glad you came. Come, sit down. We're about to start." There were 5 other teenagers there. All of them looked poor like her, but the trying to hide it kind of poor. Clean clothes that were too big or too small. Hair that was neat but needed a professional cut. That look in their eyes that said they'd seen more than kids should see. Maya sat in an empty chair, hugging her backpack to her chest like armor. Mrs. Richardson stood in front of them. "Thank you all for coming. I know this probably feels strange and maybe too good to be true. I felt the same way when I was your age and someone offered me help." She clicked a remote and a screen lowered from the ceiling. Pictures appeared. Young Mrs. Richardson, maybe 20 years old, standing next to paintings in what looked like a tiny, run-down studio. "This was me in 1975, she said. "I grew up in a neighborhood where art was considered a waste of time. A luxury for rich people. I painted in secret, sold sketches on the street to help my mother pay rent." Maya leaned forward without meaning to. "Someone saw my work. A gallery owner named Mr. Chen. He offered me a job cleaning his gallery in exchange for lessons and supplies. That one chance changed everything." Mrs. Richardson's voice got softer. "He died 15 years ago and I inherited his gallery. I sold it when I retired, and now I want to use that money to give 6 young artists what Mr. Chen gave me." She explained the program. Monthly stipend of $300. Free art supplies from professional brands. Weekly lessons with working artists. And the chance to show their work in a real exhibition at the end of the year. "But here's what I need from you," Mrs. Richardson said, and her voice got serious. "You have to commit to school full-time, no skipping. I need to see report cards, and you need to maintain at least a B average." A boy sitting 2 chairs down from Maya spoke up. "What if we can't? What if school is too hard while working? Then we get you a tutor. That's part of the program too. What if we need the money faster than once a month?" a girl asked. She looked about Maya's age with nervous hands that kept picking at her sleeves. "We can work that out on a case-by-case basis. If there's an emergency, you call me. Day or night." Mrs. Richardson looked at each of them. "I'm not just handing you money and walking away. This is a partnership. I help you, you work hard. We figure things out together." Maya raised her hand slowly. "What about family? What if our families need help too?" Mrs. Richardson's expression softened. "The stipend is yours to use however you need. If that means helping your family, that's your choice. But I also connect families with resources. Food banks, medical assistance programs, rent assistance. Sometimes people just don't know what's available." Something tight in Maya's chest loosened just a little. They spent the next hour filling out paperwork. Emergency contacts, school information, what supplies they needed. Mrs. Richardson had assistants who helped. Kind people who didn't ask nosy questions or make anyone feel small. When it was Maya's turn to talk privately with Mrs. Richardson, she was led to a small office in the back. It had a desk and 2 comfortable chairs and paintings on the walls that made Maya's fingers itch to create. "How's your brother?" Mrs. Richardson asked. "He's okay. The medicine you gave me money for helped a lot." "Good." She slid a paper across the desk. "This is the contract. Read it carefully. If you sign, you're committing to 1 year of the program. In exchange, you get everything we discussed plus one more thing." "What thing?" "An advance on your first 3 months. $900 available immediately." Maya's heart stopped. "What? I know you're in a crisis situation. I know you need help now, not next month. So if you commit to the program, you get the advance today. You can use it however you need. $900. That was more than a month of Liam's medicine. That was groceries. That was the electric bill they'd been putting off. That was breathing room. But what if I mess up? Maya asked quietly. What if I fail? Then we figure it out. Maya, I'm not trying to trap you. I'm trying to help you. But I need you to help yourself too. That means going to school, learning, growing. Can you do that? Maya thought about Liam, weak and tired in their apartment. About her mom working herself to death. About the street corner that had become her whole world. I'm scared, she admitted. Good, if you weren't scared, I'd be worried. Being scared means you understand this matters. Maya picked up the pen. Her hand shook as she signed her name on the line. It felt like jumping off a cliff hoping someone had put water at the bottom. Mrs. Richardson smiled and pulled out a checkbook. She wrote carefully, then tore out the check and handed it to Maya. $900. There's a bank 2 blocks from here. They're open for another hour. Go cash this before you change your mind. Maya stared at the check. It felt fake. Like any second, someone would jump out and tell her this was all a joke. Maya. Mrs. Richardson's voice was gentle but firm. Look at me. Maya looked up. You deserve this. Not because you're struggling, not because I feel sorry for you, but because you have real talent and talent should be nurtured, not wasted on a street corner. Do you understand? Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. Now go. Cash that check. Buy your brother's medicine. Then come back here tomorrow after school and we'll get you set up with supplies. Maya stood up on shaky legs. She made it to the door before she turned back. Mrs. Richardson, yes? Why do you believe in me? You barely know me, the older woman smiled. I know your art. And art doesn't lie, Maya. Your paintings show someone who sees beauty in hard places, someone who hasn't given up despite every reason to. That's the kind of person worth investing in. Maya left the gallery in a daze. She walked to the bank like Mrs. Richardson said. The teller looked at the check twice, then 3 times, like maybe it was fake. But it wasn't. It was real. She left with $900 in cash in her backpack, more money than she'd ever held at once in her entire life. On the bus ride home, Maya pulled out her phone and looked at the picture she'd taken of the contract. She'd really done it. Committed to a year, to school, to trying. The bus passed her usual corner. Her cardboard was still there, a little torn and dirty. Someone had kicked over her empty cup. Maya watched it disappear behind them and felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Dangerous. Terrifying, beautiful hope. When she got home, Liam was asleep on the couch. Her mom was getting ready for her night shift, moving slowly like every bone hurt. Mom, Maya said, sit down, I need to tell you something. Her mother's face immediately filled with worry. What happened? Did you get in trouble? No, the opposite. Maya set her backpack on the table and pulled out the cash. I got into a program. An art program. They're going to help us. Her mother stared at the money, then at Maya, then back at the money. Where did this come from? It's legitimate. I promise. It's from a scholarship program. The whole story spilled out. Mrs. Richardson, the gallery, the stipend, the requirements. Her mother listened. And as Maya talked, tears started rolling down her face. Not sad tears, something else. You're going back to school? Her mom asked. I have to. It's part of the deal. Her mother pulled Maya into a hug so tight it hurt. She was crying for real now, her whole body shaking. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to do any of this. You're just a kid. You should be worrying about homework and friends, not keeping us afloat. It's okay, Mom. It's not okay. But maybe now it can be better. They stood there in their tiny kitchen, holding each other, while Liam slept and the money sat on the table like a promise that maybe, just maybe, they were going to make it after all. The first week back at school was harder than Maya expected. She'd been gone so long that walking through those doors felt like entering a foreign country. Everyone knew where to go, what to do. They had inside jokes and friend groups and routines. Maya had none of that. She sat in the back of her classes, trying to catch up on months of missed work. The teachers gave her sympathetic looks but piled on the assignments anyway. Math was a nightmare. She'd missed entire units. Science wasn't much better. During lunch, Maya found an empty table in the corner of the cafeteria and spread out her homework. She had 3 hours of art mentorship after school. Then she needed to finish all of this before bed. Is this seat taken? Maya looked up. A girl from her English class stood there, tray in hand. She had dark curly hair and wore a band t-shirt that had seen better days. It's all empty, Maya said, gesturing to the 6 empty seats around her. The girl sat down anyway. I'm Riley. You're Maya, right? Ms. Chen mentioned you're doing that art scholarship thing. Maya tensed. Yeah, so that's cool. I tried to get in but didn't make the cut. Riley didn't sound bitter, just matter of fact. Your portfolio must have been amazing. I didn't have a portfolio. I just had paintings, same thing. Riley opened her milk carton. People are talking about you, you know. Maya's stomach dropped. What are they saying? Stupid stuff, ignore it. High school kids are bored and mean. Riley took a bite of her sandwich. But seriously, if you need notes from the classes you missed, I take good notes. Kind of obsessively good notes. It was the first genuinely kind thing someone at school had said to Maya in as long as she could remember. Why would you help me? Riley shrugged. Because school is hard enough without doing it alone, and because my mom had to work 3 jobs when I was younger. I know what that face looks like. What face? The one you're wearing. The I'm so tired I could cry but I don't have time to cry face. Maya felt her throat get tight. She looked down at her homework so Riley wouldn't see her eyes getting wet. Anyway, Riley said, changing the subject smoothly. Offer stands. I'm in most of your classes, after school. Maya went to the gallery for her first real mentorship session. Mrs. Richardson introduced her to a working artist named Vincent, a man in his 40s with paint perpetually under his fingernails and an easy smile. So, Vincent said, looking at the paintings Maya had brought, tell me about your process. I just paint what I feel. Okay. But what techniques do you use? How do you mix your colors? What's your approach to composition? Maya stared at him. I don't know. I just do it. Vincent nodded slowly. Right, you're self-taught. That means you've developed instincts, which is valuable. But now we're going to give you the technical knowledge to back up those instincts. The session was intense. Vincent broke down things Maya did naturally, explaining why they worked. He showed her techniques she'd never heard of, perspectives she'd never considered. By the end of 2 hours, Maya's head was spinning. You're going to feel overwhelmed for a while, Vincent said as they cleaned up. That's normal. You're learning a new language on top of one you already speak. What if I can't do both? What if learning all this technical stuff makes me lose what made my painting good in the first place? That's every artist's fear. But here's the secret. Your voice doesn't go away. It just gets more ways to express itself. He handed her a bag full of supplies. Professional-grade paints, brushes she'd only dreamed about, canvases that weren't warped or cheap. Practice what we talked about today, and Maya, don't be afraid to make bad art. That's how you get to the good stuff. The weeks started to blur together. School during the day, mentorship 3 times a week, homework every night. Maya's mom had cut back to 1 job since the stipend helped, which meant she was home more. She helped Liam with his homework and actually cooked dinner most nights instead of leaving money for takeout. Liam was getting stronger. The consistent medication and less stress at home were working. He started joking again, pestering Maya about her paintings, acting like a normal 10-year-old instead of a sick kid. But Maya felt like she was drowning. The technical training Vincent gave her was making her doubt everything. She'd start a painting, then stop, thinking about rules and techniques and whether she was doing it right. Her street corner art had been raw and honest. Now everything felt calculated and wrong. It's garbage, she said one day, staring at her latest attempt. She was in the gallery's studio space, surrounded by other scholarship students who all seemed to be doing fine. Vincent came over and looked at the canvas. Why do you think it's garbage? Because it's not me. It's just me trying to do what you taught me, but it's empty. Good. Maya looked at him in shock. Good? Good that you can see it. That means you're developing a critical eye. But Maya, you're in what I call the ugly middle. You're not a beginner anymore, but you're not quite intermediate yet. Everything feels wrong because you're aware of what you don't know. How do I get past it? You keep painting. You work through it. You make 100 bad paintings until suddenly you make a good one again. That night, Maya sat at the small desk in her room, staring at a blank canvas. Her room was slightly bigger than a closet, barely enough space for a bed and the desk. But it was hers. She thought about the street corner, about painting because she had to, because Liam needed medicine, because there was no other choice. And she realized something. She'd been painting from fear for so long that she'd forgotten how to paint from anything else. Maya picked up her brush and closed her eyes. She thought about Liam laughing at dinner last night. About her mom sleeping past 6 a.m. for the first time in years. About Riley sharing her notes without asking for anything back. About Mrs. Richardson believing in her. She opened her eyes and started painting. Not thinking about technique. Not worrying about whether it was good enough. Just painting what she felt. The piece came together over 3 days. It showed a girl sitting on a street corner, but the corner was transforming around her, the concrete turning into clouds, the buildings becoming mountains, the gray city dissolving into colors that had no names. When she showed it to Vincent, he was quiet for a long moment. "This is it," he finally said. "This is you. Raw but refined, emotional but controlled. This is what happens when you combine instinct with knowledge." Maya felt something unlock in her chest. Maybe she hadn't lost herself. Maybe she was just becoming a bigger version of who she'd always been, but school was still brutal. Her grades were okay, mostly B's and C's, but barely. She fell asleep in history twice. Failed a math quiz because she'd been up until 2 a.m. finishing a painting. One day, her English teacher, Mr. Foster, asked her to stay after class. "Maya, I'm worried about you," he said. "You're trying so hard, but you look exhausted all the time." "I'm fine. You fell asleep during the test today." Maya's face burned with embarrassment. "I'm sorry. I'll do better. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need help. Have you talked to Mrs. Richardson about getting a tutor? That's part of your program, right?" The thought of adding one more thing to her schedule made Maya want to cry. But Mr. Foster was right. She couldn't keep barely hanging on. That evening, she called Mrs. Richardson and admitted she was struggling. To her surprise, Mrs. Richardson didn't sound disappointed. "I was wondering when you'd ask," she said. "I've already lined up a tutor for you. She's a retired teacher, and she's flexible about times. You'll meet with her twice a week. I can't afford a tutor. It's part of the program, Maya. Stop trying to do everything alone." The tutor, Mrs. Kim, turned out to be exactly what Maya needed. Patient but firm, she helped Maya catch up without making her feel stupid. Slowly, painfully, Maya's grades started to improve. 3 months into the program, Maya stood in front of a mirror in her room. She looked different. Less tired. Her clothes fit better because they were actually eating regularly now. Her hair was clean and cut properly because her mom had taken her to a salon as a surprise. But it was her eyes that looked most different. They weren't empty anymore. They had light in them. Hope, future. Her phone buzzed. A text from Riley. "Movie this weekend? Actual fun? Remember fun?" Maya smiled and typed back, "Yeah, I think I do." She looked at the painting on her easel. Another week and it would be done. One of 12 pieces she needed for the exhibition at the end of the year. Mrs. Richardson said critics would be there. Gallery owners. People who could change everything. No pressure or anything. Maya laughed to herself and picked up her brush. 6 months ago, she'd been sitting on a cold street corner, hoping for $7. Now she was preparing for an art show. Life was still hard. School was still a struggle. Some days she still felt like she was barely keeping her head above water, but she wasn't drowning anymore. She was swimming, and that made all the difference. The night before the exhibition, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept getting up to check her paintings, making sure they were perfect, then realizing nothing would ever feel perfect enough. 12 paintings hung in the gallery, and each one told part of her story. The street corner series, the transformation pieces, the hope paintings as Vincent called them, works that showed where she'd been and where she was going. "Stop staring at them," Riley said, pulling Maya away from the wall. "They're amazing. You're going to make yourself crazy." Riley had become Maya's closest friend over the past year. She was here now, helping set up, even though the exhibition wasn't until tomorrow night. What if nobody comes? What if they come and hate everything? Then they have terrible taste and we'll eat all the fancy cheese ourselves. Riley handed her a bottle of water. Mrs. Richardson invited half the city. People will come, but that was what scared Maya. Real critics, gallery owners, people who actually knew art. What if they saw through her? What if they realized she was just a girl who got lucky? "You're spiraling," Riley said, watching her face. "I can literally see you spiraling. I'm fine. You're not fine. But you will be. Tomorrow night, you're going to stand here and watch people love your work, and then your life is going to change again. Better this time." Maya wanted to believe her. The next morning, Maya's mom took the day off work. They went to a thrift store and found Maya a dress that actually fit. Dark blue like her favorite painting color. Liam came too, stronger now, his cheeks full of color instead of pale and hollow. "You look fancy," Liam said as Maya tried on the dress. "I look weird." "Fancy weird," he insisted. "Like you belong in a museum." "I don't belong in a museum." Her mom turned her around to face the mirror. "Yes, you do. Look at yourself, Maya. Really look." Maya looked. The girl in the mirror had changed. She stood straighter. Her eyes were clear. She looked like someone who'd fought hard and won. "I'm scared, Mom." "Good. Being scared means it matters." Her mom's eyes got watery. "I'm so proud of you. You know that, right? Even if nothing comes from tonight, even if it's just this one show, I'm proud of you." Maya hugged her mom tight, this woman who'd worked herself nearly to death to keep them afloat. "We made it," Maya whispered. "You made it, baby. You did this." By 6 o'clock, the gallery was filling with people. Maya stood near her paintings, wearing her thrift store dress and feeling completely out of place. Mrs. Richardson moved through the crowd like a queen, introducing Maya to everyone, saying things like extraordinary talent and raw genius that made Maya want to hide. Vincent appeared at her elbow. "Breathe. Just breathe. There are so many people. And they're all here for you and the other artists. Own it, Maya. You earned this." A woman in an expensive suit stopped in front of Maya's street corner series. She studied each painting carefully, then pulled out her phone and took pictures. Maya's heart pounded. The woman approached her. "You're the artist?" "Yes, ma'am. These pieces. They're raw, honest. How old are you?" 16. The woman's eyebrows went up.
16. She handed Maya a business card.
"I run a gallery in New York. I'd like to talk to you about showing your work there. Not now, obviously. Finish school. But keep creating and stay in touch." Maya stared at the card, speechless. A New York gallery. New York. The woman moved on and Riley appeared, grinning. "Did that just happen?" "I think so. You're going to be famous, stop it." But more people came. A newspaper critic who asked thoughtful questions about her technique. A collector who bought 2 paintings on the spot. A teacher from an art school who talked about scholarships and programs. Liam stuck close to Maya all night, his eyes wide at the fancy people and the attention his sister was getting. "This is crazy," he whispered. "Tell me about it." Mrs. Richardson clinked a glass, getting everyone's attention. "Thank you all for coming tonight. This exhibition represents something important to me. Second chances. These 6 young artists come from difficult circumstances, but they have extraordinary talent. Tonight isn't about pity. It's about recognition. It's about seeing what's always been there, just waiting for opportunity." She talked about each artist, saving Maya for last. "Maya came to me a year ago, painting on a street corner to buy medicine for her brother. Her work showed technical skill, yes, but more importantly, it showed heart. It showed someone who sees beauty in struggle, hope in hardship. Over this past year, I've watched her grow not just as an artist, but as a person. She's learned to ask for help, to trust, to believe she deserves good things. And that journey shows in every brushstroke." Maya felt tears threatening. She blinked them back. "These paintings you see tonight are just the beginning of Maya's story. I hope you'll follow her journey, support her work, and recognize that talent exists everywhere. We just have to be willing to see it." People clapped. Maya's mom was crying openly. Liam grabbed Maya's hand and squeezed it. Later, when the crowd thinned, Maya found herself alone with Mrs. Richardson. "Thank you," Maya said, "for everything. For seeing me." Mrs. Richardson smiled. "I didn't see you, dear. You were always visible. I just stopped to look. Can I ask you something?" "Of course, that story you told about Mr. Chen helping you. Was it real?" "Every word. He gave me a chance when nobody else would. Changed my entire life." Mrs. Richardson looked at the paintings on the walls. "And now you're going to do the same for someone else someday. That's how it works. We lift each other up." Maya thought about that, about being on the other side someday, being the one who stopped to look. 3 months later, Maya sat on her old street corner. But this time she wasn't selling paintings. She had a folding table set up with free art supplies and a sign that read, "Free art lessons, Saturdays 2 to 5 p.m. A young boy approached, maybe 9 years old, skinny and nervous. "Is this really free?" "Really free," Maya said. "You want to paint?" "I don't know how." "Perfect. Neither did I when I started." She handed him a brush and canvas. "Let's figure it out together." By the end of the first day, she had 7 kids painting with her. Kids from the neighborhood who couldn't afford art classes. Kids who needed somewhere safe to be. Kids who had stories in their heads and no way to get them out. Riley helped, handing out supplies and encouraging the shy ones. Liam came too, setting up the easels and making kids laugh. Mrs. Richardson stopped by, staying in the background watching. When the kids left, she approached Maya. "You're really doing this? Every Saturday. It's important." "Yes, it is." Mrs. Richardson looked at the corner at the spot where she'd first seen Maya over a year ago. "You know, I've been thinking about expanding the scholarship program. Maybe starting an after-school art center in this neighborhood. Would you want to help me run it? Part-time after you graduate?" Maya felt that familiar fear. That voice saying she wasn't ready, wasn't qualified. But she pushed it aside. "Yes, I'd love that." "Good, because these kids need what you have. Not just talent, but the knowledge that they can survive hard things, that they can transform pain into something beautiful." That night, Maya stood in her room looking at her acceptance letters. 3 art schools wanted her, all with full scholarships. She'd made her choice already, a school 4 hours away, far enough to grow, close enough to come home on weekends. Her latest painting sat on her easel, nearly finished. It showed a street corner, but instead of one girl painting, there were dozens. Kids of all ages, all creating, all transforming the gray concrete into color. Liam knocked on her doorframe. "Can I come in?" "Always." He sat on her bed looking at the painting. "Is that us? The art class?" "Yeah, cool." He was quiet for a moment. "Maya, I know I was sick and everything was hard, but you saved us. You know that, right?" Maya's throat got tight. "We saved each other." "Still, you could have given up, but you didn't. You just kept painting. What else was I going to do?" Liam shrugged. "I don't know, but I'm glad you didn't stop." After he left, Maya picked up her brush and added the final touches to the painting. In the corner, barely visible unless you looked closely, she painted a small figure. An older woman in elegant clothes, stopping to look at what everyone else walked past. Mrs. Richardson had asked her once what she'd learned over the past year. Maya hadn't had a good answer then, but she did now. She'd learned that asking for help wasn't weakness. That struggle could make you stronger without breaking you. That one person stopping to really see you could change everything. And most importantly, she'd learned that she had something valuable to offer the world. Not despite her struggles, but because of them. Maya set down her brush and stepped back. The painting was finished. But her story wasn't. It was just beginning.